These people found some incredibly bizarre things in their backyard that'll have you calling the realtor very quickly. But before we start, please take a moment to give this video a like, subscribe to Happy World, and hit the bell so you'll never miss these great stories. Just when you think you know your own backyard, you'll end up finding $10 million worth of gold coins hidden underneath. Okay, well, that's not the reality for most of us, but it certainly is for people in this story. There's a surprising amount of stories that revolve around people digging up their backyard for whatever reason, a pool or a garden, and end up stumbling across items that'll make your jaw drop. What would you do if you found some of the items buried beneath your backyard? 400-year-old church bells. In 2014, a man from the Czech Republic was digging up his backyard to install some pipes when he stumbled across an unusual metal object. It piqued his curiosity and he decided to start digging. It took him days to dig out, but what he found was worth it. There were two large church bells about 400 years old laying in his backyard. It turned out that the bells were stolen 11 years earlier from a nearby church, and the thief buried them and didn't come back. 1700 cemetery. When Vincent Marcello from New Orleans decided to dig a plot in his backyard for a swimming pool, he ended up discovering a historic cemetery that dates back to the 1700s. That's not creepy at all. Okay, no, that's super creepy. The workers unearthed 13 caskets with human remains, which unfortunately isn't a one-off in the area. In 1984, 36 corpses were found when an apartment complex was being built. Put your hand up if you are never moving to New Orleans. The nuclear shelter. The Zwick family was well aware that they had a metal door in their house that led to somewhere. They never really wanted to explore it because they figured there'd be a whole lot of nothing on the other side of the metal door. But one day their curiosity got the best of them and they decided to open the hatch. It turned out there was a Cold War era fallout shelter buried in their backyard. There was clothing, medical supplies, tools, and flashlights down there. Giant earthworm. Chinese worker Li Jiawei was putting some of his clothing on a clothesline to dry in his backyard when he saw a snake. Actually, it wasn't a snake, but it looked just like one. When he took a closer look, he realized that it was a worm, almost 20 inches long. Biologists wondered how it was able to grow to be that big, considering earthworms are always a product of their environment. This one looked like it ate a whole human. Grenades and TNT explosives. Imagine walking into your backyard and finding a hand grenade. In May 2013, that was the reality for a 39-year-old from the Czech Republic. He wanted to dig out a stump in his yard when he noticed there was something under it. He was kind of confused about the unexpected finding and called the police. After they retrieved the items, they found out that the man's backyard contained tons of hand grenades and several TNT explosives from the Second World War. Mastodon vertebrae. When you're a young boy going out to play with one of your buddies, you don't expect your day to be anything out of the ordinary. Eric and Andrew from Detroit were building a dam in the creek that flows through their backyard. Eric was picking up sticks and rocks to use for the dam when he saw a weird-looking rock. He showed his mom what he'd found, and she decided to call a paleontologist, like one would do, to get it checked out. Well, it turns out it was a vertebrae from a mastodon, 13,000 years old. Mammoth bones. A family in Iowa were enjoying a nice day picking fruit in their wooded backyard when they saw a white object sticking out of the ground. The mom thought that it might have been something she accidentally planted in her garden, but it turned out to be anything but. After digging it out, they were surprised to find that it was a femur bone. Scientists from a local university later identified it as a 12,000-year-old woolly mammoth bone. Alligator in a swimming pool. In Florida, alligators being found in backyards is all too common. This is one of the reasons that Florida is crazy and people are afraid to move there. Sharon Benty and her husband from Bradenton, Florida, got up close and personal with a gator when they heard a noise coming from their backyard. Apparently, an 8-foot gator had gotten lost and decided that the family's pool was a perfect place to call home temporarily. The couple saw the alligator and called the sheriff, and it was just another day in Florida. $10 million in gold coins. Someone called the treasure hunters because they're missing out on a discovery. A couple from the Sierra Nevada region in California experienced what all treasure hunters dream of. When they were walking their dog on their property, they saw the top of a rusted canister poking out of the ground. The canister ended up containing a bunch of gold discs that dated back to the 1890s. The coins ended up having a face value of $27,980, which made the coins estimated to be worth $10 million today. $150,000 in straight cash. Picking broccoli in your backyard doesn't seem like an activity that pays too well. Tell that to Wayne Sabbage, who was an unemployed 51-year-old who found $150,000 stashed in his garden in a nylon bag. He reported the discovery to police with the understanding that if the money was not claimed by anyone else after a year, the money'd be his. Sabbage's neighbor got rid of the money apparently because it was cursed, and a judge gave a portion to Sabbage and the neighbor's daughter. A Ferrari. When digging for fun in a backyard in 1978, two kids from Los Angeles found a Dino 2446 GTS Ferrari. After excavating the car and doing a little bit of investigation, they were able to determine that the car was stolen and buried several years earlier by thieves. Interestingly enough, no one in the neighborhood had any idea that it was there. It was believed to have been part of an insurance scam with the intention to retrieve it later. A cheetah. If you lived in the UK and your kid ran into the kitchen screaming that there's a cheetah in your backyard, would you believe them? Well, the obvious answer is no. That's exactly what happened though when Julianne Taylor's son ran in and told her there was a cheetah in the backyard. She didn't believe him, but she looked anyway. To her shock, there was actually a cheetah on their property. Apparently, the 6-foot-long predator had escaped from a nearby animal sanctuary. 1,000-year-old human remains. A man in Utah was digging up a pond in his backyard and made a startling discovery that would traumatize anyone. He found human bones in his backyard, so he immediately called the police to investigate. After thorough testing, the examiner came back with even more surprising test results. She said she hadn't seen anything like it because the bones once belonged to Native Americans who lived in Utah about 1,000 years earlier. Loaded machine gun. Guns might be pretty common in the US, but in most other countries they're extremely rare. A man from Calgary, Canada made a very disturbing discovery when he went to take out the garbage and found a pillowcase lying beside it in the backyard. He opened the bag and found that there was a fully loaded machine gun and a cell phone lying beside it. Creepiest part? They still don't know who any of it belongs to. Meteorites. The chances of finding a meteorite are pretty small to begin with. Add that to actually recognizing a meteorite over a regular darkened rock makes it even less likely. But a Serbian man living in a little village in northern Bosnia found 6 separate meteorite pieces in his backyard. For whatever reason, it looks like the man's property attracts space stones. He even thinks that aliens are targeting him with the meteorites specifically, which of course is kind of funny. 650-year-old treasure. An Australian man from Weiner Newstead found a treasure trove estimated to be about 650 years old while digging to expand a garden pool in 2007. This story seems like it's straight out of the Pirates of the Caribbean, but it's real. The trove contained more than 200 rings, brooches, ornate belt buckles, gold-plated silver plates, and other random pieces of ancient pearls. Someone called Captain Hook because we finally found what he was looking for. Bombs from World War II. During World War II, there was a lot of land in the US that was used for testing new bombs and weapons. To date, thousands of homes have been built on tens of thousands of acres that were once part of a shooting range. One range in particular was in Orlando. When houses started to be built on what was once a 12,000-acre bomb range, people were discovering shards left, right, and center. The first one was discovered in 1998, but since then, more than 100 rockets have been found in backyards of the residents that live there. Dinosaur bones. It's crazy to think that dinosaurs actually walked the same turf millions of years before us. In 1997, John Lambert from Ipswich, UK was building a fence in his backyard when he found a large and unusual bone. He held on to the bone for over 16 years before deciding to take it to a museum to figure out what it really was. Experts were astounded to see that the bone was 250 million years old and once belonged to a pliosaur, a famous actress. Imagine walking into your backyard to find a random woman frightened and paranoid, wearing dirty clothes and missing some teeth. You might assume that she's had it hard her entire life and was probably homeless. Well, that's not the case. In 1996, then 47-year-old Margot Kidder, also known as Lois Lane in the Superman movies, was found in that frantic state in someone's backyard. She was later diagnosed with bipolar disorder and placed in a psychiatric care where she has since made a full recovery. Ancient stone. When an amateur historian, Stephen Davis from England, was researching the history of his own home, he came across a reference to an ancient stone that was thought to have marked a burial plot from the Bronze Age, dating back to about 2500 BCE. Davis searched for the stone and, after some time, found it in his backyard completely covered in ivy. At the time, the Historic Buildings and Monuments Commission for England was expected to pronounce the stone a Scheduled Ancient Monument.